Yo, what's up YouTube? This is Cody Bear and welcome to another Escape from Tarkov video. Today I'm going to be talking about keeping a positive mental attitude while playing Escape from Tarkov, because sometimes playing Escape from Tarkov can feel like you're getting kicked in the nuts. You just continue to lose gear and sets of gear and just sets of gear to scavs and just stupid plays. But I think that after we watch this video and we talk about some of these things, we're all going to walk away with a little bit better understanding that it happens to everyone that plays this game. It's not just you. And to not be so hard on yourself when you're playing this game. So without further ado, let's crack straight into it. So I just wanted to start by saying that don't feel like you're alone in this. I know all of us struggle with this. You know, all of us really struggle with being hard on ourselves, especially in a game that's like Tarkov, where you can lose all your, your favorite gear and your favorite things, and it can be hard. I tend to do this, especially on stream. I really struggle sometimes when I start to go on a dice streak, and it just feels like no matter what I do or how carefully I try to play, it just doesn't work out. And the first tip that we're going to talk about is going to be fuck your stats. And what I mean by that is, like, no one really cares about your stats because the game is too random. Like, if someone's giving you shit because they have a 60% survival rating, but they constantly play with a 4-man squad, they have a much easier time in this game than a person who runs solos all the time. It's too hard to really get an accurate representation of how good you are at this game when you can be a solo player running into a 3 or 4-man squad at the start of a customs raid every time. And that does happen. That's happened to me. It's just too random when it comes to, ammo and armor too. You can't predict what type of armor people are going to bring into the game. You can't always afford the best ammo. Most of us can't. And so when you go into a raid as a solo player or as a duo player and you run into a squad and they're pretty well kitted out, the odds of you surviving aren't very high. So you need to realize that, and you need to be okay with the idea that, it's all right, we got kind of a bad spawn or we had some bad luck. I ran into a guy that had an Alton helmet in Gen 4. I only had BT ammo. The odds of me surviving that probably aren't very high unless you get the jump on them. And that kind of stuff happens so consistently that it's just the main reason that stats in this game are stupid to begin with, because there's so many random instances that can occur in this game and so many variables that it really doesn't matter. So don't be hard on yourself about your stats, because they really don't matter. No one's going to care. When patch 0.13 comes and you were telling someone about your stats in the last patch, they're going to be like, oh, cool, dude. Like, that's pretty cool. Good for you. But really, I couldn't give more of a fuck, And like, I feel like most people that play this game and they play as either duos or squads, they have higher survival ratings because it's a lot easier for them to watch different corners. Like, they have someone watching their back, or they have a lot easier building, like, time holding down buildings. There's just so many things, especially if you're a solo player, that make this game so much more difficult. So don't be hard on yourself, And I mean, from like the different types of ammo and armor and the different squads you'll eventually run into or probably have been running into, you also have a pretty high chance of just getting one-tapped by scavs, And so really, it's too hard to really give a fuck about your, to accurately measure your skill. So the second thing that we're going to talk about are that there definitely are hackers in the game. And I think having the mentality that, oh man, that guy was definitely hacking when I died, is not the right mentality to have, because there are a lot of players that are really good at this game, and their skill definitely should not be downplayed by any means. But there are hackers in the game, and there are times when you're going to die in a really stupid way to some guy that definitely should have seen you or should have heard you, but he did, or he magically knew where you were, and he's going to land a grenade right at your feet. That does happen in the game. It's really unfortunate. They're working hard on fixing the hacker issue. They're currently trying to get a better understanding of like how they're hacking so that they can work on it and face the problem head on, is what my understanding of what Nikita's trying to do. But they're not going away anytime soon. And I personally have seen hackers on not just labs, but I've seen them in customs as well with the new expansion and stuff. So this is what I do, and this just helps me. It might help you too, but I just tell myself, like, if I die to a hacker, that doesn't count. Like, that raid doesn't count. Like, it's just not really fair. And again, like, your stats record that death and stuff, which is why your stats really don't matter, because like they don't take into consideration stuff like that. So if you die to a hacker, just shrug it off, just say, that doesn't count, that doesn't count, it's whatever, that guy's dumb. And, move on to the next raid with a more positive attitude. So the third thing we're going to talk about is that everyone dies in dumb ways in this game, or dies to dumb things. And what I mean by that is, like, sometimes you get an aimbot scav that shotguns your face from 100 meters away. Sometimes you fall off a rock and you die for some reason. Like, the game's not perfect. It's still in beta. That's one of the unfortunate things about the game, is that it's not perfect, but it also kind of makes the game fun, I think. Like, you gotta laugh that stuff off because it doesn't matter. And this really took place for me when I was watching Anton. He's one of my absolute favorite streamers, and he wipes a 3-man squad right next to dorms, loots all their gear, goes into dorms, and he instantly gets shot by a scav. It was not a player scav, it was a regular scav with a no stock Vepr. I believe it was like 7.62. It wasn't a Vepr hunter. And he gets shot in the arm with Gen 4 assault armor, and he dies in one shot. And that just really solidified to me that, like, we're not alone in this game for just dying in dumb ways. Literally everyone, someone as good as Anton, someone as good as Clean, like, these people die all the time in just stupid ways. It's not uncommon. And you really need to not be hard on yourself, because it happens to everyone. It really does. And so if you're a new player and you're just getting down because you're dying to scavs, realize that you're not alone. This happens to everyone. So yeah, there you go. Tip 3. So thing number 4 that we're going to talk about here is hit registration. We all willingly signed up for a game that's in beta, and we know that it's not perfect. How many times have you shot a scav and you watched the bullet hit their head and the little, like, blood puff or whatever that comes out, and their head kicks back but they don't die? I mean, that happens to scavs and players. But you also got to remember that's probably happened to you. There might be players out there that have shot you in the head and it didn't register. And so if you're on the end of that, where you shoot someone in the head and they don't die and they kill you, to not get upset about it, because the game's not perfect. Where it's still in beta, we all signed up for this, and when something dumb like that happens, it's not your fault. So just move on and keep being positive, because you maybe should have killed that guy. But it didn't quite work out, and that's okay. It's okay when it doesn't work out. So just go into the next raid with a little bit more positivity and understanding that, hey man. And also, as a side note, I already do this where I play this game and I stream it, so I tend to record it. But if I were you, I would record it using OBS. Just record your screen and go back and watch, because there's a lot of the time where it's like, I thought I should have hit their head. It looked like it was right on their head, like my reticle was, And then when I go back and I slow down the footage and I watch it, the recoil kicks slightly left or slightly right, and I just wasn't quite able to control it, and I missed their head, or I hit their shoulder. And so I thought I saw blood come, from their shoulder, but the reality is that you actually missed. And that way, when you see that and you watch that, you might not feel so bad about it in the future. You can be like, well, maybe I did hit their head, but maybe I didn't, And that's always an option too, is that you might not have hit their head. So recording your gameplay and going back and watching it to see, if you really got screwed by the game, or if it was, you actually just missed. Sometimes that helps me understand that, I'm not perfect and that I actually missed, and that helps me want to do better in the future as well. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about, this tip probably won't affect a lot of people, but this is for people that started the wipe late, or they just bought the game and they're new to it. But they had a huge change to the flea market that made it so you couldn't buy anything until you're level 10. And people are already so far along in the game from the last wipe that most players you run into on maps are going to have level 4 or higher armor. And the amount of players on Customs and Factory that I run into that have level 4 or 5 masks with full face shield that even blocks like BT rounds, I feel like that's happened more this patch for me than any other patch. So if you're a new player and you're forced to run a P.A.K.A. for like 40 or 50 raids, because every single player that you run into is running better armor and ammo than you're just not going to win those fights. And so between that and running into 2 or 3 man squads constantly, it's going to really start to wear you down. And so what might be the better option is, you could try to run like Vepr hunters and stuff that can, throw out really good ammo. But for a little while, it's probably going to be better to try to avoid PvP until the playing field gets even. I feel that I kill most people that have the same gear as me on. I have no problem killing them, but most of the time, if they're running like Gen 4 armor with an airframe, I struggle to kill those people. They're really good at the game, you know, so that like don't discredit their skill, because they are good, but also understand that like if you run into someone that has better armor and gear than you, it's going to be really hard to kill them, and that happens a lot. And so don't get down on that. Don't get down on yourself, because if you started late or you're new to the game, you know, they have a major advantage, and that advantage goes away with wipes, which is why wipes are so much fun, because it's a lot more level playing field. Most people are running P.A.K.As with SKSs and stuff, where the game just feels more balanced. And right now, there's just no balance to the game unless you're running the top gear. So if you're new to the game, or if you're late to this wipe, the game is going to feel a lot harder, I believe, than it actually is. That's just my experience coming from playing a lot of patches. The game feels really hard. I was surprised at how hard the game feels. Plus the interactions, the new interactions they added with the scabs like running around and stuff, I love it. I think it's amazing, but man, is it scary sometimes, because it's just like, is that a player scab? Is that a regular scab? Or is that a player? And it's so hard to tell. But don't get down on yourself, you know? Like, if someone's running the best gear and you laid into them, you know, you get 10 hits or so with your gun, and you don't kill them, that's still a good fight for you. Be proud of that fight. Know that you did well, and know that once you get better gear, you're gonna really start being able to go toe-to-toe with those people. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking it and subscribing. I do stream on Twitch 4 or 5 days a week, twitch.tv/CodyBear. Come hang out and we can just be more positive together about this game, and you know, grow to a place and a community that can start to, you know, work together and be more positive in general about Escape from Tarkov, because I feel like there's a lot of negativity on Reddit and things right now about the game. But we all love this game, we all want this game to succeed, and games aren't perfect, we all know that. But keep your head up, it will get better, you're gonna get better at the game, and you're gonna start, you know, slaying people, and we're gonna slay them together, and you're gonna slay me, and it's gonna be wonderful. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.